Chuck, when you're watching this game, the Bears have the ball. What are you keeping an eye on?
Can they complete a pass? I'm joking. Well, I'm not joking, though. I'm joking, but I'm not joking.
Don't have to worry about Devondre Sweat and Jeffrey Simmons, at least this week.
But honestly, the way I feel about the Bears is I would imagine that's probably the worst their offense looks. Maybe the entire Caleb Williams era. Because there's when you talk about extremes, as hard as it is to be that good, it's also hard to be consistently, that bad, as bad as they were throwing the ball on Sunday. And if you're a Bears fan, the cope is, hey, at least we got a defensive special teams touchdown to kind of buoy us while we move through this. But you also know you're almost never going to score a defensive touchdown and a special teams touchdown in the same game. You're also very unlikely to score a defensive touchdown or a special teams touchdown in any game. So that was not a sustainable plan for winning. I guess the one thing that I'm looking for is the same thing that everything's looking for. What needs to go in place for this passing game to be operational? Is this a situation where their interior line is just way worse than we thought it would be? Because boy, Devondre Sweat and Jeffrey Simmons were running those boys over like they weren't even there on some plays. That gets a lot easier this week because you don't have those guys in the middle. The Texans don't have anyone like that. We saw last week Texas defense is susceptible to getting scored on. Now, Anthony Richardson was playing like an absolute video game character last week, but you can say that Caleb Williams has some of the same traits as a thrower. Maybe it's not quite, Josh Allen plus arm where you're slipping on turf and still throwing the 65-yard dime off your back foot.
But he can create stuff. Yeah.
Right, but he can create stuff. So I just want to see operational passing game get back to looking like an NFL offense because I really can't imagine that they ever play that poorly again. Now it's just will it be enough to outscore CJ Stroud? I don't know, but luckily your defense is in the slot like they showed in the second half last week.
Yeah, Shane Waldron's on fraud watch for me a little bit.
Little bit.
Just a little bit. I've liked his stuff in the past, but it's always felt siloed, where it's it's a lot of good ideas, but not cohesive. And it just kind of, I'm just watching, just making sure. There's even a couple design examples, they converted on a fourth down, and they had a Roman Dunze motion across. They had him block the linebacker, and then the tight end block the safety. So you always want to block like bodies. So tight end, linebacker, receiver on safety. And that was kind of interesting to me. That's also just got, I look for these things as canary in the coal mines, because then it's all right, how much detail to design do you have? And it's little things like that. That gets me a little antsy. A little too much Keenan Allen. A little too much.
Yeah.
A little too much. I think we got to realize what Keenan Allen is these days. He's an auxiliary target. He's a supplemental guy. He is not a primary target. He's not a guy you design stuff for. Maybe 3rd and 5 or less, or low red zone, where he can just win a quick one-on-one, get the first down, get over. But he is not a guy you have double-digit targets for. I know Roman Dunze is battling stuff right now, but you have this other guy named DJ Moore, who's really good. Yeah, that focus needs to go to him. So that's where it was just too much. Keenan Allen he's not getting open. He had the drop in the red zone as well. It's just, that's what he kind of is. That's how he was last year. It was as Stephen Ruiz said, Sharif Abdul-Rahim point scoring at receiver last year, which I always thought was just perfect. But I think this game, going against the Texas defense, is they're not as burly up the middle, like we mentioned, Sweat and Jeffrey Simmons, but they still have a good pass rush. So they need to run the ball better. Last week they had to bounce everything to the outside because they could literally get nothing up the middle because of those guys. So this might be a get-right game for interior running, but then their running backs are DeAndre Swift, who is allergic to running between the tackles. So it's just a lot of this is actually a little dicier, and I was a little more apprehensive about this offense than others. I was still excited about Caleb and some other parts of it, but it's just that might be some up and downness, like you said, but I think the worst was last week. This is a good chance for them to get right with running the ball, and also just Caleb not having some of those uncharacteristic, feel more comfortable having not some of those uncharacteristic misses that he had last week. He still had some darts, some absolutely brilliant throws. He's I know the creation stuff is so cool. The in the pocket stuff is so awesome. And I think this week against a heavy zone team, Hopefully they don't break too many blitzes at him. If they can block up Daniil, block up Will Anderson, you can maybe see a little bit more of that on Sunday night. Because, maybe a Cole Kmet game too, working over the middle. That's still the weakness of this defense. So
the one thing I came back to with Caleb after the game is, and I'm trying to figure out how to frame this, but like we know at times like he's been a guy that can kind of ride the emotional roller coaster, to say. So like when I thought about basically, especially like the missed throw to Keenan Allen and some of the other plays, I'm like, buddy, get it. First NFL game.
Yep.
You're freaking out a little bit.
Yep.
Just calm down.
Everyone has it.
You belong here. You know, this is where you're supposed to be.
Yep.
Trust me. But I want to see in game 2 if that was first game jitters, holy shit, I achieved my dream. I'm where I wanted to be, first pick in the draft. I made it. I cashed in every dream I had. Now you just got to settle in and actually just play the game.
I just don't want any bad habits to keep building, because they were starting to build at USC, and I was willing to I wouldn't say overlook him. I just was willing to see that he was trying to do the right thing a lot, but that ecosystem was bad for it. And so now I'm like, don't do this more. Like, let him get settled a little bit before we kind of get into this mode. So we'll hopefully have a game where he feels a little bit better there.